Hello guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a simple Java menu just like this, just like the one that I displayed in my last video. And it's not as hard as it looks. Each button has its own function. In this case they have quite a similar function, but yeah. So we're just gonna, I've tried to break it up into separate parts that you can follow, just to try to make the video as easy to follow as possible. So let's just get going. So step one is to create the project, of course. By the way, those notes, I'm not sure if I've covered everything. So if something does come up, I'll definitely have to adapt the notes. All right. So what should I call this? I'm gonna just call it Java menu tutorial. Okay, I need to tell you guys my keyboard is a bit messed up, so some of the keys keep not working. So that you might see me just randomly stop between a sentence. That's why I'm stopping. Don't need to create that. So first thing we need to do is just, of course, create the main class, and I'm gonna name it main. Simply just like that. And if you forgot to add the main method, just like I did there, all you have to do is write main and then do control space. In my case, my control's not working. Wait, let me just make it work. Okay, my control is now working. So control and space, and you will get this option right here, and that's how you get your main method. And then I'm just going to do control shift F if it lets me. I guess I'm not going to do that because my keyboard's messed up. So what I'm going to do is just create another class, and this time I can just use this tool here, and the other class is going to be called the main menu. Main menu, just like that. And this is where the actual code for the menu is going to go. In here I'm not going to do much. I'm just going to create an instance of the other class, the main menu class, if my keyboard worked properly. There you go. Okay, so essentially what this is doing, as soon as the main method is initialized, or as soon as the main method is run, the constructor of the main menu is going to run. So that is where I'm going to hold the main code. I'm saying main a lot right now, but the code for the main menu will go here. So that is the project created. So I can put that into the completed section. I would have done Control C, but my keyboard probably won't let me do that. So there you go. That's completed. Next one is, oh yeah, I done that one as well. My apologies. I should have showed you guys. All right. So let me just paste that here quickly. Now we just need to create a simple JFrame, and I'm sure you guys know how to do it if you're watching a video like this. But how you do it is, well, in my case, the reason I created a separate class is because I wanted this one to extend JFrame, makes things a little bit easier. And of course, wait, I didn't write this right. Extends. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to implement some of the libraries. Now, a quick way to do this is Control. Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna show that because it's, like I said, my keyboard really doesn't like me today. Okay, so we've created a simple JFrame. It's extending, and to show you what that looks like, I'm just gonna say this dot set visible to true. So if I do that, I can show you what's going to happen. It should create a, oh sorry, I need to run it from here. That's just how Eclipse works. So what's happening is, so this is the JFrame, by the way. So what's happening is this is running, and it's creating an instance of the main menu class, and that's running the constructor, which is this method right here. And in the constructor, what I've done is set the JFrame to true, the visibility to true, and that's why that comes up. So in terms of, wait, what step are we on? So all we're doing is creating a basic JFrame. So all I need to do is just do the basic stuff that you would need to do for a JFrame. So let's say this dot set title, I guess. Let's set a title. What should I call this? Menu tutorial. Okay, the next thing we need to do, I'm just gonna add set default close operation, and this just makes it so when you press the X button on the JFrame, the program ends at that point. Yeah, so I'll show you right now. All it does is when I press this X right here, the program closes. I also should show you, this is the title, this is what the title done. It says menu tutorial up there. Not really necessary, but I just done it for the sake of doing it. Another thing you might want to do is set resizable. We'll set that to false. Okay, so that's basically this part done. We've created a basic JFrame. So I'm gonna move that to completed. So the next step is just to add a background. So as you know, right now when we run the program, it's just a white JFrame. So how do you add the background to the JFrame? I'm going to use something that I've already made, which is this. It's a simple image that I've just used an amalgamation of images and just chucked it together to create something like this. And here are where the buttons are gonna go. But you don't need to use this, of course. You can use whatever you want. The dimensions of my one that I'm going to use, let me just, how do I check this? Okay, resize, you can see. So this is the dimensions of my image that I'm gonna use, but you can use any image and from the internet and just resize it. And actually, look, so I'm gonna just quickly show you what you could do. You could get this image, it's close to the dimensions. You could just save it. Let me just quickly go to there, and I'm gonna save it as background. Yeah, so now I have the image here, and I'm gonna show you an example of using that in a second. But first of all, I'm gonna use this. So all you need to do is, in fact, I will use this one because you guys can follow me better here. So if I take this image and drag it into Eclipse and drag it into the main or the project itself that we're working with, we can actually access this file directly in the code without having to paste in the path of the file because it's in the project folder itself. So all you need to do now is create an image icon object. So how you do that is, so what am I doing right now? I'm adding the background to the menu. Yeah. So how I do that, sorry, my I button is a bit messed up. Okay, so how you do that is, first of all, we need image icon, and I'm gonna call this one menu. And what this is just an object that stores an image. And the image that I'm talking about here is the one that we just imported. All you have to do is write exactly the name of the file, of the image file that you got. Sorry, this is a JPEG. And that's it. Also, of course, we need to import the image icon class. Okay, so we've got the image. Now I want to create a JLabel to store that image. I'm gonna call this as creative as I am. I'm gonna call it label. And once again, I'm just gonna do this. And the special thing about this JLabel, you can pass in an image right here. right here I've passed in the image. I'm just going to import that class again. So what I've done is I've passed the image icon object that we've created for the menu background into the JLabel constructor. And I know it sounds complicated, but I'll show you exactly what that does now. So now all we're doing is adding the background. So this dot add, and the component's name is label. Okay, so some of you might have an issue here. Okay, I forgot one thing. This dot pack is what I want to write. This dot pack. And what this does is, in fact, before it, what happened? When I didn't have this, the image didn't load completely. It's just restricted to this place. And this dot pack changes it so the size of the JFrame is the size of the components inside. You're going to notice the image that I've put in here is too big. And you might also have a different problem where you're just seeing white. You're not seeing anything different. And if that is the case, then you've done this part of it wrong. You've wrote the name of the file wrong. So just double check that. In order to change, like, how do we solve this issue of the image being too big? It's very simple. We just go to the image itself and we resize it. Okay, so resize it. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get rid of that. I can't really remember what it was, but let's say 515. And I'm gonna save the resized copy. Gonna save it there. I'm gonna replace this, and all I'm gonna. So this is the replaced image. If I just check the dimensions, as you can see, the dimensions is 1000 by 515. So I'm going to just do exactly what I've done before. Place it into the project file, copy the file, and this time I'm overwriting the existing one. If I run it now, as you can see, it now fits. So I could say that this is completed, but for me, I want to actually use this one. I want to use this background because it'll get closer to the finished product that I showed at the beginning. So what I'm going to do is just throw this into the project file. It's like this. And I need to change this now so that it has the name of the new file, the image that I put in. So this is the new name, background. Just make sure I've got that right. So if I run that, let's see what happens. There you go, perfect. So now I'm going to consider this as completed. So let me just chuck this in over here. Paste. It's so long to click it. I never usually do like copy it like this, but my keyboard once again is a bit messed up. So that's done now. Okay, I realize this video is getting quite long. I might need to make a part 2, but I'll just try to do steps 5. Let's see what happens. It's about 8 minutes plus the other part of it that I recorded separately. So I'm going to try to carry this on quickly. So the next thing to do is create the JButtons themselves. So I can say creating JButtons. So all we need to do is, actually, I want to go up here before I start this. I want to go, with JButtons, you want the scope of the variable to be in the whole class, and I'll show you what that means in a second. So all I'm doing is naming the JButton up here, declaring up here, and I'm going to call it play button. Of course, you can use this for anything. It doesn't need to be for a game or anything like that. It's up to you what you want to make. But in my case, I'm just trying to replicate what I showed at the beginning of the video. So now all I'm doing is, so now that I've declared the button outside the class, all I need to do is say play, button equals new JButton. Just do that. So that's, I'm going to, I don't know if I should do all of them. I'm gonna just do all of them. Let's see. I'm running out of time, but let's see. Level editor button, and then I'm gonna write there. So these are all of your buttons, by the way. So whatever button you have, you just throw it in here. So quit button is, I think, the other one. So all I'm doing here is just doing this. In fact, because my keyboard's so messed up, I'm just gonna copy this and just replace the beginning of it. Maybe that's not very effective. Let's see. Paste. Just gonna change the beginning. You're gonna realize a lot of the things begin to get repetitive because of the fact that you're just doing the same thing for all of the buttons. So level editor button, and then we got quit button. There you go. And this has just created the JButton objects. Now we need to add some functionality. But before I do that, let me see. Yeah, so we've created the JButton. We can say that's complete now. So the next thing is to set bounds for the buttons and add them to the JFrame. So what does it mean to set bounds? Wait, I'm just going to do this. Let's say setting the position of the buttons. That's a good way to put it. So play button dot set bounds is what you want to say, and you want to use this option. Okay, so this is where things get a bit funny because it depends on the size of your buttons, how big do you want your buttons, and where do you want the buttons to be in the JFrame. In my case, I want it to be about 150 for the X, about 350 for the Y, and in terms of width and height, let's see, I'd say 60 for the width and 30 for the height. So I'm just going to do one of them so I can use that as a reference point for the other two. So let me just see, do I need to do all of them? Set bounds for the... Alright, you know what? I'm going to consider these two as one thing to do, because you're going to see it helps if you add this to the JFrame first. Actually, wait, I think, okay, this does say add to the JFrame, so let's do that. What I'm doing is simply, just like how I added the background, the JLabel, I'm going to also add, so this to add, I'm also going to add this button that I've just created. So in my case, I'm going to add the play button first. And all I wanted to see is if it's on there. So there you go. It's right there. Right now it doesn't do anything, but that seems like a very, very good position for that button. And I'm just going to pause and figure out the positions of the other ones, because all you need to do is kind of mess around with these numbers and eventually it'll get to the right position. So as you can see, I've now added the other two buttons. So here's the level editor button here, and here's the quit button, and I've added it to the JFrame. So how does that look like? It looks like this for me. It might look like something different for you. In fact, you see how I'm doing it sideways. You could do it, you know, like a vertical menu, but I'm doing a horizontal menu. It's up to you. Like I said, I'm just trying to replicate what was at the beginning. So here's essentially my buttons that don't do anything right now. So that's the next task, is to add some functionality. So I could say that this has been completed. Just get rid of that now. So that's completed. Now we just need to add some functionality to the buttons. In order to do this, you need to implement an action listener implements so action listener. Okay, let's see if that's right. Yeah, that's right. The next thing to do is just add the unimplemented methods, and that added this. So be careful, because a lot of people get stuck in this stage. What you need to do is implement action listener and then hover over main menu, which will add the unimplemented methods. Or you could just manually add this, but I don't know why you would do that. So what I'm going to do now is say if e.getSource equals play hold on, am I doing this? Oh yeah, play button, yeah. And then I just do this, and what this is saying is whenever I press that play button, what do I want to happen once I press that play button? I'm going to just quickly add else if statements for the other two buttons, yeah. So I'm just going to come back quickly. Okay, so all I've done is just quickly added an else if statement. So what it's saying, this action performed method is what happens is the resulting action of clicking the button. So what I'm saying is when the play button is pressed, what do I want it to do? And I'm going to just let me think, because I don't want to actually make anything. Okay, let's create a new class called play. Yeah, and what I'm going to do is just create a quick just constructor for this class. There you go. We got a quick constructor, and all I'm going to say is this is just to show you let me name these things properly. This is just to show you what's actually happening when I press that, and how you could do your own application. So I have this, then I'm gonna say play.set visible dot set equal to true. There you go. As you can see, it just implemented that method automatically, but if it didn't, just hover over and just press implement. So what that does is, so what I'm going to do is when the play button is clicked, I want to call this constructor. I want to call this method when the play button is clicked. And how I'm doing that is just saying just creating an instance of the play class. So what does that look like? It looks like this. If I press that, nothing happens. I've just realized I'm doing all of this, but I forgot to actually add the action listener to the buttons themselves. How do you do that? So adding an action listener to the JButtons, yeah, that's what I'm doing. So what I do is play button dot add, and wait, is this the right method? No, it's add action listener. And what you want to put in there is this, because we're implementing it. So what I mean by this is this method here, this action listener. And as you can see, if I do that now, if I press play and I press that, it actually does something. I just realized I didn't show you. I added this dot dispose, and this dot dispose, what it does is quite self-explanatory. It disposes the current frame, and what's happening as soon as that's done, it's calling by creating an instance of the class play. It's calling this constructor, and this JFrame is created called play. And obviously I'm just showing you this, but you could do whatever you want in this when those buttons are pressed. I'm not going to really add any functionality to the other ones, but in terms of how you would add the action listener, I'm just going to pause it and just add it just so you can see how you would do it. So that's how it would look like. You literally just do the same thing, and then you just for like the level editor button, you put in some sort of functionality here. If my control button works, this would, okay, there you go. So let's say print hello, I am the level editor button. And then the quit button, actually we could actually just do this.dispose, not this.disable, this.dispose, just like that. So now if I run it, you're going to realize everything has a functionality. If I press the level editor button, which in my case is the middle button, what happens is it says this. But if you want like for something to actually happen, you might want to create another class and put the contents of that button in there. But in my case, that's all it's going to do. And I also got the quit button, which just gets rid of it, and the play button calls this class. That's pretty much it for that step. We're on the final step now. We're nearly done. So I'm just going to put that in here. So the final thing we have left is just to add images to the buttons via creating image icon objects. Image icon objects, we've created one before. It's just like the one that we used for the menu. It's just an object that's nature is to hold the information for an image. I'm gonna do this above where we created the J button. So here what I'm doing is setting the button images, and we're gonna need a few image icon objects, and I'm gonna call the first one play image. Very creative names, I know. And what you do for this, just like what we done for the menu, you place the file, the image that you're going to use between these speech marks. But where is my image? In my case, I'm going to use these images here that I have already. In terms of the dimensions, okay, I'll show you the dimensions. To be honest, this is up to you, so it doesn't really matter what the dimensions of my one are, but here they are. I'll show you this one just quickly. Just what you do, you get the image and you put it straight into the folder, just like that. And as you can see, it's right there, playbutton.png. So now I'm going to write that exact name here. Even the capitalization. Is there capitalization? Yeah, there is. So now that I've created it, what I need to do is go to, so how do you add this image to the button? As you can see, if I press play, nothing has happened. Everything still doesn't have an image. So what you need to do is put this name as a parameter into the JButton constructor. What does that mean? Literally, all you have to do is just do this. And that basically sets the image. It goes into the JButton class, and you're basically pasting the image into the constructor that deals with setting the image for the button. What does that mean? It means you got an image on your button. And you could just do the same thing with the other images. So what I'm going to do is literally just get everything and just put them all in here. Put them all in here, and I'm going to pause and I'm just going to make the other lines. Here it is. I've finished doing the other buttons. As you can see, I've just done the same thing that I've done with the play button for the other buttons. I've created 2 new images and I've just passed them as a parameter into the J buttons. And if I press play, if I run the program, everything has an image. And as you can see, this looks almost exactly like what I showed at the beginning. What else could I show you guys? Let me just zoom out. Maybe you might want some of the code. So here is the code that's been used. If you're stuck, just make sure everything line for line letter for letter is correct, of course, if you have the same names as what I've named everything. But just make sure everything's right. If the image isn't loading properly, remember it's most likely because you've incorrectly spelt the file name. So just look over here what the file name is and just make sure to copy it word for word, letter for letter. So once again, this is what we've just done. As you can see, everything has a purpose. If I press quit and finally level editor, there you go. If I just keep pressing that, it does that. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.